will vote for AOC and Donald Trump on the same ticket because they're authentic. No, because they're authentic.
I don't think
Okay.
that Don.
I think you're wrong about that.
What people like about people like Trump and
That's
Fetterman
phony.
is because it's irrelevant to her life. Know that being a gorgeous woman who I wouldn't even know was Hispanic in a city that has 1 million Hispanics and does not treat them badly.
But that doesn't mean she doesn't struggle. That doesn't mean that she was set down.
It implies it.
People will vote for AOC and Donald Trump on the same ticket because they're authentic. No, because they're authentic. I don't think that Don. I think you're wrong about that. What people like about people like Trump and Fedman is there because it's irrelevant to her life. Bill Maher has zeroed in on Don Lemon, and the former CNN anchor clearly wasn't ready for the heat. I know that being a gorgeous woman, who I wouldn't even know was Hispanic in a city that has 1 million Hispanics, and does not treat them badly. That doesn't mean she doesn't struggle. That doesn't mean that she was kind of it implies it. On Club Random, Ma tore through Lemon's defense of the AOC agenda like a man on a mission. And yes, it was absolute fire. So what exactly did Don Lemon say that pushed Ma over the edge? And how did Ma clap back? I've got all the scorching takedowns and mic drop moments right here. So buckle up. This one gets spicy. People love AOC. People love Jasmine Crockett. People love Eric Swalwell and the like. And I think that the Democratic Party should put the people out there who the people want. They should put the politicians out there who the people want. So, Don Lemon kicked things off by floating the idea that Americans actually want AOC to lead the Democratic Party. Bold move. Now, if you've been following my channel, you already know that nothing gets under Bill Maher's skin quite like the AOC brand of progressive politics. The moment Lemon dropped her name, you could literally see Maher shift in his chair like someone had just handed him a live grenade wrapped in a woke hashtag. The air got thick. You could feel it. That subtle pause, that sidey glance, Maher was loading up. What started as a polite exchange was about to turn into a verbal boxing match. And Lemon had no clue he just stepped into the ring with a guy who's been throwing intellectual haymakers for decades. This wasn't going to end with a friendly agree to disagree. When Ma couldn't take it anymore, he shot back. They're not asking for AOC. Yes, they are. The people you party with. No, no, no. The people I party with don't like AOC. Oh, please. No, they don't at all. Well, most people don't. They're very far left. And that's exactly why Bill Maher doesn't like AOC. She's too woke. She champions abolishing ICE, codifying abortion rights, Medicare for all, student debt cancellation, workplace democracy, and the Green New Deal with reparations and climate justice baked in. And that's exactly why Ma recoils, not because she's a woman or immigrant, but because she's unapologetically radical. When Lemon trotted out the idea that AOC should lead the party, Ma visibly tensed, like someone expecting a pop quiz after skipping class. The conversation already charged. Jump from polite debate to ideological brawl. Add in her framing of immigrant detention as systemic cruelty, her fierce critique of Trump's legitimacy, and you've got a perfect storm. Ma doesn't just disagree, he thinks it's unserious and detached from political reality. So, when Lemon mentioned her name, it wasn't just a mention, it was the starting gun for a showtime. And trust me, the gloves came off. People will vote for AOC and Donald Trump on the same ticket because they're authentic. No, because they're authentic. I don't think that Don. I think you're wrong about that. What people like about people like Trump and Fedman is there because it's irrelevant to her life. The point Maher was trying to make before Don Lemon jumped in mid-sentence was crystal clear. Figures like Trump and Fetterman connect because they don't have their heads buried in the clouds. They're raw, unfiltered, and grounded in the everyday frustrations of real people. Trump speaks to those who feel ignored by the political elite, while Fetterman, hoodie and all, embodies blue-collar authenticity. Neither man pretends to be perfect, but that's precisely the appeal. In a world of over-polished, out-of-touch politicians, authenticity, flaws, and all is refreshing. Their supporters don't want poetic speeches or 10-point plans. They want someone who gets them. That's the kind of realness Maher argues is missing from the polished, ideologically rigid corners of the far left. So when Lemon tried to downplay that appeal, Maher wasn't having it because at the end of the day, relatability beats rhetoric every single time. I know that being a gorgeous woman who I wouldn't even know was Hispanic in a city that has 1 million Hispanics, and does not treat them badly, that doesn't mean she doesn't struggle. That doesn't mean that she was separated. It implies it here. Maher subtly exposes another layer of hypocrisy. One that clearly flew right over Don Lemon's head. Maher pointed out how AOC often portrays herself as a perpetual underdog, part of a marginalized group constantly under threat. She frequently leans on her Bronx upbringing. Despite growing up in Yorktown Heights, a far more affluent suburb, and emphasizes her Hispanic heritage to craft a girl from the struggle narrative. It's a calculated identity play meant to project authenticity and relatability. But Maher sees right through it. He argues that this kind of performative positioning is exactly what turns off moderate voters. It's not the heritage or the background itself. It's the selective storytelling. When politicians mold their life stories to fit a political agenda, it reeks of inauthenticity. And for someone like AOC who claims to stand for the working class, Maher sees a carefully manufactured brand, not a genuine representative of the people. But that doesn't mean that she was set down in Hispanic ghetto in the Bronx, and had to deal with that growing up, and that she's so many working classes. It implies that for some it implies that in some way she's behind the 8 ball. Sometimes I genuinely wonder if Don Lemon even follows the news. There are multiple clips, clear as day, where AOC references her background to imply she came from poverty. With all due respect, half of my district is from Queens. I don't think he knows how to deal with a girl from the Bronx. She leans into the Bronx narrative like it's her political passport, conveniently ignoring her suburban middle-class upbringing in Yorktown Heights. It's a strategic move to frame herself as a grassroots champion of the oppressed. But anyone paying attention can see the disconnect. Either Lemon missed those clips, or he's just choosing not to look. And that's the problem. When journalists ignore facts to protect a narrative, credibility flies out the window. I don't think she's behind the 8 ball, but I don't think she's as privileged as many people who are in Congress right now. I'm privileged or not. She was a bartender. Yeah. So I was a delivery boy. I'll be playing a clip of Megyn Kelly exposing AOC's privileged background in just a moment. But before that, let me make something clear. The notion that you have to pose as working class or pretend you crawled out of poverty to earn credibility is completely false and frankly insulting. Authenticity matters more than origin. You can come from wealth, attend elite schools, and still connect with everyday Americans if your message is genuine, your values are clear, and you're not faking a persona to score political points. In fact, voters are often more receptive to someone who owns their background and speaks to real concerns with honesty and humility rather than someone who rewrites their life story to fit a populist mold. The American public can smell a phony from a mile away. So, when someone like AOC tries to rewrite her past to appear more relatable, it doesn't inspire trust. It raises red flags. Now, here's a clip from AOC exposing AOC's background. A congresswoman, who you may know as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, has been telling us for years that she is from the Bronx. And recently she had a fight with President Trump over tweet, text, truth, whatever. And she played tough and said, "Oh, don't you mess with me. I'm a Bronx girl, and we eat Queens boys for breakfast." because that's where Trump was raised in the Queens. And respectfully AOC. Well, that's real cute. Except she only lived in the Bronx until she was age 5, when at best you're in usually kindergarten, maybe first grade. And she spent the rest of her childhood, 1 through 12th grade, in Yorktown Heights, which is Westchester. So, it turns out Bill Maher was absolutely right. AOC is playing a character, not telling a story. She's crafted a political persona built on the idea that she's a product of struggle. A fighter from the Bronx, who clawed her way up from the projects. But the truth, she grew up in Yorktown Heights, a wealthy suburb with good schools, manicured lawns, and little resemblance to the image she's selling. That's not just spin, that's deception. AOC didn't rise from poverty. She came from privilege. And while there's nothing wrong with that in itself, the problem lies in pretending otherwise. When politicians twist their background just to fit a convenient narrative, it's not inspiring. It's manipulative. Voters deserve authenticity, not theatrics. The American people need to know who they're actually supporting. Not the myth, not the brand, but the person. Because trust me, this curated underdog story isn't fooling everyone anymore. Recently, AOC landed hot waters when she called for Trump's impeachment over dropping bombs in Iran. Unilaterally brought the United States into a war without congressional approval is a very grave public admission. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. Many people weren't thrilled with AOC's response. She seemed almost too eager to criticize and push for President Biden's removal from office. Her reaction came off less like concern for global stability and more